rumor going around today that the PlayStation 5 backward compatibility may not just be limited to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, as previously mentioned, but that it may go all the way back to the original PlayStation 1 days and include support for disc-based games all the way through to current generation. Which games like Road Rash, and yes, I still do have my old original PlayStation games. Look at how they used to give these games out back then. Giant manual, giant disc, a lot of art on the back, that really kind of crazy art style from back in the day. I still do have all my old PlayStation games. You can see most of the current ones behind me here, but a little bit lower in the shot, I do have all of my old consoles and all of my old games. So, do I care? Yes and no. Road Rash, I just picked this one because when I thought of like, if I did have backward compatibility, what game would I play? I picked this one because I love Road Rash and it's really my first PlayStation game. I very vividly remember playing it at my friend's sleepover party. His mom rented a PlayStation 1. We got to play it. We played it all night. We didn't have a memory card, so we just grinded. We didn't beat the game, but man, was it fun. So if I could play any old game, this would be the one I would go back to. But looking at the art and remembering it, you know, the rose-colored glasses, all that sort of thing, nostalgia is a powerful drug. And recall, I was very, I don't want to say critical, that's not the right word, but I was very meh about the backward compatibility feature on the Xbox One when they announced that. Maybe because I didn't have that nostalgia. There weren't a lot of original Xbox games that I played. I still owned my 360 games. I still have a working Xbox 360 console. That was my first Xbox console. So maybe that lineage isn't there. I don't know if that's part of it. Maybe I'm biased towards PlayStation. I mean, I think I am a little bit, but you know, these games, I mean, this game came out a long time ago. Back when Electronic Arts was still actually something people liked. Had a very different logo on it back then. I was looking for the date it came out. I'm not seeing it here off the top of the box here. But yeah, I mean, you know, you think about like, this is very different nostalgia than some of the older games, for me at least, right? But remember that PlayStation had a leg up. They came out long before the Xbox did, so there's that. I don't know. I'm interested, I guess. I wonder if this is true. Obviously, it's a rumor. But I wonder if this is true, and then I also wonder, how does that impact current performance? PlayStation was panned very heavily during the launch of PlayStation 3 because they said they could not reproduce a console that could play PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 games. They said that again during the PlayStation 4, and the Microsoft was able to do it with software, mostly. There's not really any dedicated hardware on the Xbox One X that allows it to support the old games. Microsoft just uses a different, more scalable PC-based architecture than Sony ever did. So it's easy for them to port stuff. And on the PC side of things, you know, I've been playing the same games for a long time. I mean, I remember buying Half-Life 1. I can still play it today without problems, and it would look great. So, you know, you have to kind of weigh that out too, that this isn't a unique thing by any stretch of the imagination. Sony, very behind the curve. Even the Wii did support some backward compatibility as well with the GameCube. So it's not uncommon. But I think that, you know, it's a selling point for me because I still have my old games, and it's a selling point for me because I remember growing up with those games. But would I rather play the hot new PlayStation 5 game or Road Rash? Well, I think we know that answer. And as fun as an old Road Rash or Destruction Derby sounds, it would probably lose its appeal pretty rapidly because the games were not designed with the level of rigor and production value they are today. I'm not talking about graphics. I'm just talking about that hook, that replayability factor. Just in a lot of those old games wasn't really there in the way that it is in modern games with new game plus modes and cosmetic items to unlock and to earn and progression and online support and that sort of thing. So what worries me though, as I started to allude to, but I'd like to close out with this again, is I am a little concerned as to what hardware sacrifices PlayStation would have to make in order to support these old things, because it sounds like, from what I've read in these leaked documents, that PlayStation is currently planning on having a second mode built into it that supports these games. Now maybe a third, fourth, and fifth that would support all the different generations. And from what I can gather, it seems like it's more hardware based. Well, if some of your hardware is dedicated to backward compatibility support, that means it's not dedicated to current game support, which does support the current trends and discussions that we have been seeing online that seem to indicate the Xbox One is a much more powerful console than the Xbox Series X is much more powerful than the PlayStation 5 would be. And I wonder if it is things like this that are slowing them down. If you have to build, it's not really a 5-in-1 computer. Look back at the original hardware of these consoles. There wasn't much to them, but the point is you start packing in a limited form factor and a limited price to try to get all of these hardware solutions to support previous consoles. It only makes sense that you're going to run out of space for new stuff. So that's what worries me. It's a neat selling factor, I think, for some people, just in the way that some people were very excited for backward compatibility. I remember Phil Spencer made a very big selling point of saying your games will go with you. They will come with you. Every journey you take, you're buying into the Xbox brand, and don't you worry, you're going to keep your experiences moving forward. And that was a very forward-thinking approach of his. Didn't do much for me, as I mentioned, in my particular situation, but I know a lot of people are extremely excited about that. A lot of people don't have huge racks and game rooms dedicated to their favorite hobby like I do. And over time, these things get lost or forgotten, and it's nice to say, hey, I want to dust that game off and go play it again without, I could pull up the original console right now. It's sitting right behind me, and I have the original controllers, and I have all the HDMI cables or the S-Video, if that's, back in the old PlayStation 2 days, that's what we used, S-Video, or component cables, whatever they happen to be. But the point is, that didn't excite me as much as I think other people were excited. So curious to see how this develops. Console wars, as I mentioned in my opening video of 2020, very exciting time. There's definitely going to be a lot to discuss coming up in the near future. I cannot wait until PlayStation holds a press conference, until we get more details on the Series X, which I assume will be at E3, and maybe PlayStation will hold out then too. Sometimes they do events in February. I haven't heard anything yet, but it's still a little bit early in everybody's mind, of course, is on football right now, right? So anyways, I'm gonna close out this video, and I wanna hear from you guys. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this potential backward compatibility. Does it do anything for you? Are you more swayed by the Xbox variant or the PlayStation variant, or are you somewhere in the middle? These are the things that I would love to hear from you guys on. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.